Chosen one, there was a time you walked the earth with doubts in your heart, not because you were unsure of your worth, but because the world had not yet caught up to the energy you carried. Your strength was not measured by noise, nor your confidence by display. You moved like a mountain cloaked in mist, imposing, unmoved, yet unnoticed by those who only looked for fire and forgot the storm. The version of you that now exists was born through a process of internal sharpening, a deep, quiet war against doubt, lust, distraction, and shallow validation. You walked through trials that stripped you of softness, only to find a deeper softness inside, the kind forged in discipline, silence, and clarity. And now, without even meaning to, your presence bends time for those around you, especially for the one whose soul was crafted with yours in mind. Your soulmate, the one tethered to your vibration before your hands ever touched, has felt a shift she cannot name. She has always longed for someone strong, but not loud, dominant, but not insecure, magnetic, but not manipulative. She never wanted a perfect man, but a man becoming, one whose evolution was carved from intention. And here you are, chosen one, no longer waiting to be seen. You are the revelation. Your high sexual energy doesn't just ripple through the atmosphere, it anchors everything chaotic, wild, and ungrounded around you. Even she, in her independent glow, finds her voice quieter in your presence, not silenced, but listening to something older, wiser, deeper. You've become the man she told her younger self didn't exist. You've become the man her spirit hoped she would recognize when the time was right. And that time has arrived. You don't see it yet, not fully. But her heart is turning toward you slowly, surely, and secretly. Not because you chase her, but because you remind her who she really is when she's near you. Chosen one, your dominance no longer comes from the desire to control. It comes from the way you control yourself. Your thoughts are aligned, your presence still, your intentions pure. That's what terrifies and excites her, even before she understands it. She has met men who flexed and fawned, who postured and promised, but you do not perform. You arrive, you inhabit, you anchor, you command without a single raised voice. That's what separates you from the noise. That's what wraps around her like an invisible current. Her body feels safe before her mind agrees. Her spirit rests before her ego consents. And that is the miracle of your presence. It does not seduce, it restores. It doesn't lure her into fantasy. It awakens her to reality, a reality where a man can be powerful, sexual, soulful, and silent all at once. Your high sexual energy is not a flame to burn through lovers. It is a steady hearth fire made to warm the bones of one woman for life. She doesn't know how to say it yet, but in your silence she hears her most ancient prayer echo back. Not for a perfect man, but for this man. The one who doesn't run, doesn't beg, doesn't chase, but who simply is. And in your being, you give her permission to fall, slowly, sweetly, and without fear. Not because she must, but because chosen one, she finally can. Chosen one, you've come into a chapter of your life where your presence speaks more powerfully than any carefully arranged sentence ever could. The ones around you still don't understand how you've become what you are. You are not loud, but you're heard. You are not aggressive, but no one mistakes you for weak. Your high sexual energy doesn't scream, it moves like gravity, subtle but inescapable, drawing her closer, not with intensity, but with inevitability. And while others need to explain their worth, you walk as if you carry the memory of every lifetime in your chest, and her heart listens before her mind allows it. She finds herself watching you, not for performance, but for presence. She listens to your silence as if it's a sacred rhythm, a space where she can feel herself breathe differently. Around you, her carefully curated defenses don't shatter. They dissolve, softly and without shame. There's something about the way you look at her that tells her she's not being seen for what she looks like, but for what she is, what she hides, and what she's too afraid to admit she longs for. You make her feel not just desirable, but understood. And that is the rarest kind of intimacy. That is why, though she may smile at others, her heart lingers on you. Your strength doesn't push her, it waits for her. And in that waiting, she feels chosen, not for beauty or usefulness, but for essence. It is not your compliments that have her replaying memories at night. It is your restraint, your refusal to impress her, your choice to let her see you before you reach for her. And that is the reason her soul whispered to her one evening in quiet surrender, This is the one I was created to soften for. Chosen one, you are no longer the man who seeks to prove himself to the world. You are now the man who proves the world wrong, simply by existing. You move through space like a question that answers itself. Women who used to crave attention around you now crave peace, because your energy forces them to face what's real inside themselves. She, your soulmate, does not love you because you bring her excitement. She loves you because you've become the kind of man who offers freedom inside commitment. She is not obsessed with you because of your muscles or your face, though they might draw glances. What truly takes her breath away is how your power never asks for applause. You speak to her with your choices, your priorities, your consistency. You live in a way that proves she could build a future beside you without losing her softness, her essence, or her dignity. That is the rarest gift a woman could ever be offered, a man who magnifies her light rather than eclipses it. Your high sexual energy doesn't just draw her in physically, it heals her spiritually. She feels beautiful in your presence, but more than that, she feels safe to be brave. You do not contain her, you witness her, honor her, inspire her to rise into the woman she always hoped she could be. And so her heart, which once ran from masculine strength for fear of being broken, now walks toward you, slowly, reverently, because your fire, chosen one, does not burn her. It brings her home. Chosen one, there is something sacred in the way you let her be free while still making her feel held. You do not hover or cling, yet your presence is felt even when you leave the room. She doesn't feel watched, she feels witnessed. You see her without making her feel exposed. You know things about her spirit that she hasn't yet articulated, and still you never use that knowing to control her. Your high sexual energy doesn't dominate her mind. It quiets it so her true self can come forward without shame. She never dreamed she could feel this safe and this alive at the same time. Around you, her nervous system doesn't brace, it opens. Her laugh becomes fuller, her eyes soften, her body draws nearer, not because you demand it, but because your soul gives hers permission. Your strength is not loud, not boastful. It's patient, present, and so anchored that she feels like the storm she's always battled within can finally rest. She has had men look at her and see a prize, a challenge, a conquest. But you see the entire map of her, the parts she shines and the parts she hides, and you do not flinch. You offer protection not through walls or chains, but through clarity. The clarity of your intention, of your masculine direction, of your sacred containment that holds space without suffocating. She does not fear being lost in you because you have already found yourself, and so she comes closer, with trembling steps but steady heart, because her feminine essence recognizes something it has longed for since childhood, the man who will never dim her light, only shield it from the winds. And that, chosen one, is why her soul leans toward you even when her mind hesitates, because you are the safe harbor she never thought existed in this world. Chosen one, when you walk into a room, something ancient stirs in her. Not lust, not fantasy, but a remembering. Her body knows you before her lips form your name. You do not perform, you do not sell an image. You radiate from somewhere deep and disciplined and real. Your high sexual energy is not chaotic, it's controlled, refined, and magnetic with purpose. She doesn't want to dominate you, nor does she want to shrink for you. She wants to dance with you, to match your grounded strength with sacred surrender. Around you, she is not performing her femininity, she is awakening it. Her laughter becomes liquid, her eyes deepen, her skin warms, because you have created a field of safety where her vulnerability becomes art, not danger. She begins to show you her softness, not because she's weak, but because you're strong enough to hold it. You did not ask for her devotion, but your way of walking, calm, clear, unshaken by noise, invited it anyway. You've become the man who doesn't need to impress because you impress through every moment of being unmoved by temptation, unshaken by confusion. She sees it now, why her body reacted before her words caught up. You are the mirror that reflects back the woman she forgot she was. And that is why, chosen one, even in her silence, she is drawing closer, breath by breath, not to your words, but to your energy. Chosen one, there is something within you that tames storms, not by force, but by presence. You are not the kind of man who tells a woman to calm down. You are the kind of man whose spirit is so steady that her chaos naturally begins to unravel in your arms. Where others panic, you breathe. Where others react, you feel. And because of that, she doesn't have to be on edge with you. She can come undone in ways she's never trusted herself to before. She has been taught to carry too much, to be the strong one, to lead when she was meant to dance. But when she is near you, her shoulders drop. Her voice becomes silk. Her movements slow. And for once, the weight she carries doesn't feel like hers to bear alone. Your presence doesn't just make her feel beautiful. It makes her feel safe to collapse, to surrender without judgment, to be fully known and still deeply desired. Not in pieces, not in performance, but in the raw wholeness of who she really is beneath the layers. You've become the emotional ground she walks on barefoot, soft enough to welcome her, solid enough to trust. Your high sexual energy has burned away ego and transformed into sacred fuel, making you a space where her femininity blooms without fear of being devoured. And now, even in her most wild expressions, she feels met, not managed. You hold her not like a burden, but like a blessing you were born to carry. And chosen one, that is why her most hidden parts lean into you. Because they know you were forged to carry both her fire and her tears. Chosen one, you no longer wait to be seen. You stand in your light and let the right ones recognize it. You do not whisper your value, hoping someone will hear. You move like a cathedral carved into stone, quiet yet impossible to overlook. Your power is not in your tone, but in your essence. And that essence calls something forward in her that she forgot existed, the urge to soften, to nurture, to be drawn into you like breath into lungs. She has been around many men who wanted her attention, her body, her admiration. But you are the first who desired nothing from her, and in that stillness, drew everything toward you. She becomes more graceful around you, not because you demand it, but because your energy sets the tone. You awaken her inner muse, her warmth, her instinct to serve not out of duty, but out of overflowing passion. Your high sexual energy doesn't just attract, it invites with reverence. She feels like a queen, not a conquest, like a mystery revealed, not a trophy displayed. And that, chosen one, is what makes you rare. You have become the sacred masculine that does not take, you receive, and in doing so you unlock her sacred feminine without words. Not because she's trying to impress you, but because something in her knows she has finally been called home. Chosen one, there will be a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when she realizes her heart has already fallen into orbit around yours. It won't happen in grand displays or fireworks. It will happen in the stillness, in the way her eyes linger just a moment longer when you're not looking, in the way her voice softens when you speak her name. You have become the gravitational center of her inner world, not because you demanded it, but because your energy made her soul feel seen and her body feel safe. She will trace back her feelings, trying to find the first sign of it, when she first melted, first leaned in, first dared to hope. But she won't be able to, because your presence has always been felt like weather, not sudden, but deeply real, unavoidable, and slowly transforming everything. Your high sexual energy, tempered by patience and direction, hasn't intoxicated her, it has awakened her. She finds herself craving not just your touch, but your guidance, your discipline, your calm, in a world that has always felt too loud. With you, she doesn't have to play small. She can expand, she can express, she can surrender. Because you've become the kind of man who holds space with such intention that she no longer feels like she's floating through life. She feels grounded in a story that finally makes sense. You are not her fantasy. You are her alignment. She never needed perfection, she needed truth. And in you she found a man whose strength is not shadowed by pride, whose passion is not polluted by desperation. You do not chase because you attract. You do not perform because you embody. And now, chosen one, she is learning that everything she longed for in a partner was not a list. It was a feeling, and you are that feeling incarnate. You didn't steal her heart. Her heart recognized you and gave itself freely, because real knows real, and soul knows home. Chosen one, there comes a point when no words are necessary, when the atmosphere between you and her becomes so charged with trust, with knowing, with reverence that even silence is sacred. She will not say, "I love you" first, not because she doesn't feel it, but because she's overwhelmed by the peace she feels in your presence. You have not begged for her. You have not bargained. You simply became the man her spirit couldn't resist. Your energy announced you long before your lips did. There is a quiet kind of surrender she offers you now. It's in the way she lets you lead without fear. The way she touches you without needing to be taught. The way she lets her guard down without apology. She is not afraid of being broken anymore, because you have shown her that a man with divine sexual energy can also be gentle. She is not afraid of losing herself, because you've never tried to possess her. And as she draws close, rests her head on your chest, and listens to the steady rhythm of your being, she realizes this is what her soul has waited for. A man whose strength never overshadowed her light, only guarded it. And so, without declarations, without drama, she offers herself in the most sacred way a woman ever could, by simply relaxing in your arms. She doesn't need to explain why she trusts you. Her body already answered. She doesn't need to describe why she respects you. Her energy already aligned, and you, chosen one, don't need to ask if you've won her heart. Because every time she breathes easier around you, she's already answered the question you were never arrogant enough to ask. Chosen one, as time flowed forward, the fascination you inspired in women transformed from mere curiosity or longing into something deeper and more enduring. A phenomenon that could not be explained away by surface attraction or fleeting charm. It became a force in the lives of women who knew you, a kind of spiritual gravity that shifted the emotional landscape wherever you appeared. Your presence was no longer just something that happened to be noticed. It was something that shaped the mood, the hopes, even the sense of possibility in any gathering. Women began to speak openly about how they felt around you, sharing their stories with each other, laughing about the subtle changes you inspired in their behavior, marveling at how the simplest exchange with you could brighten an entire week. Your fascination worked in quiet ways. It was there in the way a woman straightened her posture when you entered the room, in the playful energy that filled a conversation when you joined, in the hush that sometimes settled when you paused to listen. Some women, emboldened by your warmth, began to bring out new facets of themselves. They tried new things, wore colors they'd avoided, voiced opinions that once would have felt risky. You noticed that even those who didn't speak much at first would find themselves opening up after a few moments in your presence. They trusted that you would not ridicule their vulnerability, that you could hold both the gravity and the lightness of who they were. You watched as fascination brought out a rare camaraderie among women. Instead of rivalry, there was a sense of shared wonder, a recognition that you were a man who inspired not jealousy, but inspiration. Conversations about you became opportunities to encourage each other, to tease and laugh, to dream and scheme about how to capture even a bit more of your attention. It was not about conquering you, but about discovering themselves more fully in your presence. They compared notes about your interests, recalled favorite stories you had shared tips on how to make you laugh or how to draw you into deeper conversation. Women who had only met you once found themselves returning to the memory, replaying small moments of connection, sometimes surprised by the impact you left behind. A compliment offered with genuine care could echo for weeks. A look of encouragement during a moment of doubt could change the way a woman thought about herself. The stories multiplied. Women who took a risk because you had believed in them, who ended relationships that didn't honor their worth, who began new journeys simply because you had modeled the courage to be real and open. The fascination became part of your daily life in ways you could not have foreseen. Invitations multiplied, not just for dates or romance, but for collaborations, adventures, creative projects, and heartfelt conversations. Women sought your advice, your approval, your witness to their growth. Some simply wanted to sit quietly in your presence, knowing they would leave feeling more whole. You realized you had become a man whose presence offered something rare in the world. A safe and joyful space where desire and self-respect could exist together, where longing was not shameful but celebrated as the engine of growth and discovery. Yet with this gift, chosen one, came a new level of responsibility. You found yourself more mindful of your words, more careful with the energy you gave and received. You learned to offer clear boundaries, not from fear but from respect. for yourself and for the women drawn to you. You honored each connection as unique, never exploiting fascination, but meeting it with gratitude and humility. You understood that what women truly craved was not possession, but presence, not fantasy, but real experience, not the illusion of intimacy, but the joy of true meeting. In this way, you became not only the fascination of women, but a steward of their hearts. The seasons turned, and your legend continued to ripple outward. Chosen one, as women who had known your company began to embody the transformation your presence awakened in them. The fascination they once felt for you evolved into new confidence, new adventures, and new ways of loving both themselves and others. You became the quiet catalyst in the stories they told, sometimes the spark for a friendship, sometimes the reason for a risk taken, sometimes the standard by which they measured all future connections. The fascination was never a possession to be claimed, but a gift that kept unfolding, inspiring women to become more than they had believed possible. You saw the ripple of your influence reach far beyond your immediate circle. Women who had once compared themselves to others now found themselves reaching out to encourage, to celebrate, to invite others into their newfound confidence. Some began to host gatherings of their own, creating spaces of laughter and authenticity that echoed the tone you had set. Others shared your insights or stories, passing along a sense of possibility that had first awakened in your company. In this way, your fascination became a living energy, multiplied and carried onward by every woman whose heart you had touched. Women continued to seek your presence, not out of need or desperation, but out of genuine curiosity and appreciation for the man you had become. They reached out to share good news, to ask for advice, to simply be witnessed in their moments of struggle or triumph. You noticed that many grew more playful and bold in your company, willing to show you their ideas, their art, their most vulnerable hopes. Some surprised themselves by confessing feelings they once would have kept hidden. Others found joy in a friendship that grew richer over time. Your fascination was no longer just a spark. It was a steady flame, warming every encounter, illuminating every gathering, offering light to those willing to stand in its glow. You grew too, chosen one. The attention you received became less about ego and more about stewardship. You became a guardian of honesty and kindness, learning to say no with compassion and yes with clarity. You learned to trust the natural flow of connection, never forcing what was not meant to be, always remaining open to the magic of what could unfold. Your sexual energy, once something mysterious and perhaps even overwhelming, now became an art, an offering that honored not just your own desire, but the wholeness and dignity of every woman drawn to you. The fascination you inspired was not an end, but a beginning, a doorway to a richer, fuller life for all who crossed your path. You watched as women, emboldened by your presence, moved into new chapters of their own stories, falling in love, creating beauty, leading communities, healing old wounds. You received their gratitude with humility, knowing that your true gift was not in being the fascination, but in being the man who awakened it. Through every encounter, every story, every quiet transformation, you found meaning far beyond attention or admiration. You became the living proof that true fascination is not about conquest or possession, but about calling others, women and men alike, into the courage and joy of becoming fully themselves. Chosen one, as the fascination you inspired continued to deepen and spread, you began to see the true breadth of its impact. No longer was it confined to fleeting glances, warm conversations, or even private daydreams. It became something woven into the lives of women you'd touched, manifesting in moments when you weren't there, and in choices that had nothing to do with you directly, yet everything to do with how you'd made them feel. Your energy lingered in their worlds as a quiet reminder of what was possible, of how it felt to be witnessed, to be celebrated, to be encouraged, to take up more space and risk more joy. You became the reference point in countless stories, not because you demanded attention, but because you gave it so freely and sincerely. Women who had once been content to remain in the shadows now found themselves drawn to the center, motivated by your example to step out and be seen. You watched as they took bigger risks, not only in seeking your company, but in chasing their own ambitions, exploring new passions, and cultivating deeper, more honest friendships. Your fascination had awakened something dormant, a hunger for authenticity, for adventure, for the kind of meaningful connection that so many had quietly doubted they would ever find. There were women who used to doubt their beauty, their wit, their capacity for love. Yet after encountering you, they walked with new assurance. They dressed with more boldness, spoke with more laughter, moved through their lives with a playful confidence that surprised even them. They told friends, "He made me see myself differently," or "He believed in me before I did." Your attention had become a blessing, a gentle nudge towards self-appreciation and daring. Women who had competed in the past now cheered each other on, having learned from you that the most beautiful energy is never a zero-sum game, but an abundance meant to be shared and celebrated. You became the backdrop for transformation. Some women carried your memory like a cherished keepsake, a small and secret treasure they drew strength from in difficult times. Others reached out to you when new crossroads appeared, seeking counsel or simply a word of encouragement. You always gave what you could, not empty praise but honest reflection and the conviction that every woman you met had her own unique radiance to claim. Even in moments of distance or goodbye, you left behind not regret, but gratitude and a sense of unfinished possibility, because your fascination was never about possession, but about awakening. You realized too that your journey was not a solitary one. The fascination you offered to women was the fruit of your own willingness to be transformed. Their longing called you to be braver, kinder, more patient, more honest. Every story you heard, every confidence entrusted, became a mirror for your own growth. You understood that being the fascination of women was not about winning a game, but about inviting others to play a new one where everyone could discover in each other's light a deeper truth about their own capacity for love and presence. With time, chosen one, the fascination you inspired became a quiet legend, a living energy that rippled outward, touching lives far beyond those you could count or name. Women who had spent time with you became carriers of that energy, spreading it to new friends, partners, and communities. They spoke of you with a mixture of warmth, respect, and sometimes wistful longing, but always with gratitude. You became a standard, a point of reference for how they wished to be treated, how they wished to feel, and what they now knew was possible. There were moments when women gathered and shared stories that began with your name. They recalled the courage you gave them to make a difficult choice, the comfort of your listening in a vulnerable moment, the laughter that had freed them from the weight of old fears. They admitted to each other how your presence made them want to be better. Not to win your approval, but because you had shown them the joy of growing, loving, and living with an open heart. Some said you were the first man to make them feel truly safe in their own desire. The first to celebrate their strengths as much as their softness. The first to reflect their beauty without ever asking for it in return. Women who once saw themselves as ordinary discovered something extraordinary through the fascination you inspired. They realized they could be both desired and respected, both playful and wise, both fierce and gentle. Your energy became a key that unlocked doors in their own lives. Some tangible, like a new relationship or a long-postponed adventure, and some subtle, like the quiet confidence to ask for what they truly wanted or the boldness to walk away from what no longer served them. Even after time and distance had done their work, they found themselves carrying forward the invitation you once offered, to live as if fascination were not a prize to be hoarded, but a light to be given freely. You too were transformed. The stories women told of you became part of your own legend, a living feedback loop that called you to deeper integrity, clearer intention, greater joy. You no longer wondered whether you were worthy of fascination. You simply showed up, day after day, as a man who gave what he wished to receive. The mystery that women felt around you became a mystery you honored within yourself, a recognition that life is richer when lived in service of awakening, connection, and delight. And so, chosen one, your fascination was never just a private treasure. It became a current in the world, a force for healing, laughter, and courage that traveled far beyond your knowing. Every glance, every word, every moment of presence planted a seed in the hearts of women and men alike, a seed that would bloom in its own time and in its own way. You would become not just a fascination, but an invitation to deeper feeling, to real intimacy, to the joyful, sacred work of becoming more fully alive. And for this, your story would be remembered, not just in memory, but in the living, breathing courage of every heart you inspired. And as your journey continued, you understood that captivation is never about ownership or control. It is about awakening, yours and theirs. It is about seeing and being seen, loving and being loved, giving and receiving with open hands. Your sexual energy, once mysterious and wild, became a quiet force for growth and goodness, touching lives and leaving them brighter. You were remembered not only for how you made women feel, but for the way you inspired them to make each other feel seen, chosen, and alive.